It is time now for a roundtable reaction from today's President's Cup captains announcements. We welcome in Golf Channel senior writer Rex Hoggard and GolfDigest.com contributor Shane Ryan. Shane, I want to start with you. No real curveball, no outside the box like a Keegan Bradley or Tom Watson as Clint Eastwood. Your thoughts on Brandt Snedeker and Jeff Ogilvy?
Yeah, pretty predictable, I think, and in a good way. I think for the U.S., they sort of got to a point where we always heard about how important the pipeline was and succession, and then the same guys did it over and over after 2014 until they realized, oh no, we haven't groomed anybody for the next generation here. So that was the Keegan Bradley thing. That was kind of out of left field, but now it seems like they've got Snedeker, Kisner, maybe Stewart Cink in there, a few guys like that. So they're kind of back on a path where there is some experience. And I thought it was funny, Snedeker talking about how important it is to have experience and how important it is to, have been there before. And, here we have a captain who's never even been a vice captain coming up in Bethpage. But, yeah, and then Ogilvy, of course, I think he's been involved in 7 of these things. He's been a assistant captain 4 times. The only surprise there is, they didn't kind of hold him for Australia, but maybe there's other plans going on there. So by the book, President's Cup, they're kind of sensible. It's a very sensible President's Cup we've got.
Rex, there are 10 players in the top 50 in the world rankings eligible for Ogilvy's team, 26 in the top 50 eligible for Snedeker's team. And I know it's played on grass, not on paper, but that's a pretty big firepower difference. Is there an argument for changing the format so that there are fewer matches within the President's Cup? It used to be 32, then it was 34 points, now it's 30. The Ryder Cup's only 28 points. If they do change the format, make it more like a Ryder Cup, does that give a Jeff Ogilvy a chance, because he doesn't have such a deep bench, to maybe make it a little bit more competitive?
Yes, it seems obvious. Keep cutting matches. I mean, 28 seems to be the magic number at the Ryder Cup. Every 2 years we talk about how that is just the perfect number, and every year it seems to deliver some sort of exciting finish, some sort of close finish. So it just makes sense to me that why wouldn't you use the same number? However, the PGA Tour is clearly reluctant to change, and for whatever that reason is, apparently imitation is not the best form of flattery in this particular case, because I'll go all the way back to Ernie Els and Nick Price, and this has been a couple of years since they've been captains of the international team. They were pushing hard for exactly that, because they know that gives them the opportunity to put their best team forward. And there's going to be some players that probably don't like the idea that they need to be sat on the bench for a couple of those team matches. But if you look at the results, you're going to have to make some sort of change eventually. No one wants to continue to see lopsided finishes, and that's probably the best way to do it.
What do you think, Shane? Is there a point of no return? 10 wins in a row? Is it 12? Is it 14? Is it 20? I mean, how long can this trend continue?
Well, I think, I'll put it this way. I think the Ryder Cup is lucky that the President's Cup still has a lot of matches and that the Americans have won so many in a row, so that superficially they can say, oh, we're still the better competition, because the reality on the ground is the President's Cup is more fun, it's closer over the last decade, and it's more intriguing and has more crazy things happen than a Ryder Cup has. So I agree with you. I think they should reduce the matches. I think there's things they can do to make it better. It would surely be great if the international team could actually win one. But I think right now, the Ryder Cup is on the back foot. All that happens is the home team wins in a blowout every single year. So, I think the PGA Tour has an amazing opportunity here to, forever go above and beyond the Ryder Cup if they just make a few tweaks, and I think they really should.
There's an opinion you don't hear voiced too often these days. Rex, does Jeff Ogilvy need a deal that involves live players being brought back into the fold to really make this competitive?
I thought it was interesting, the interview you guys just did with him, where he referenced the idea that it would probably benefit both teams, and certainly it would benefit golf if you brought some of the best players back, regardless of what team they're on. However, I think clearly the international side would benefit the most. As soon as I heard that, I kind of started scrolling through Live Golf's single-season point standing for individuals. Joaquin Niemann is right at the very top. I made the argument on Sunday's podcast with Ryan Ladner that if most of the players who went to Live Golf, if you were in the top 5, maybe 10, you're probably still a top 5 or 10 player. I would argue that Joaquin Niemann actually became a top 5 player. It seems to me he's blossomed. He's grown into a better player, and he would certainly be an asset to that team. These captains in this era are being put in a very difficult position, and certainly we saw both captains sort of dance around the idea of what they would do when it came to live players. But yeah, the international side could definitely use some of those players.
How about for you, Shane? How big of an omission, a loss, would the United States be without a Bryson DeChambeau over 4 days in the fall in Chicago in that format with those crowds?
Yeah, I have to disagree with Rex here. I mean, the international team, these are high pressure situations, these team competitions. And you look at Niemann, he is thriving on Live Golf with very little real competition. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page here, and I'm searching for those yellow numbers that indicate a major top 10. And unless I'm missing something, I don't see a single one. Meanwhile, the U.S. is leaving off Bryson DeChambeau, who plays great in majors, Brooks Koepka, who's won majors. There are only, there's only one nationality of guys who have won majors while playing for Live Golf, and that's Americans. So I think, again, the international team maybe should be careful what they wish for here. I think without Live players, maybe they've got some solidarity. Yeah, sure, it would be great to have Cam Smith. It would be great to have Niemann. But I don't know. I don't know that it would make a huge difference. And you might get some American guys in the mix who you don't necessarily want to see.
Let's stick on the Joaquin Niemann question here for a moment, Shane. He is clearly the best player on Live right now. Just won his 5th tournament of the weekend. Another no-show at the Masters this year. Is it detrimental to Live that he only performs well in shallow fields, that when he goes into deeper waters, the results aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are still obsessed with analyzing whether, can the Live guys compete at majors? Can they do this? Can they do that? So, look, if he finishes 40th or whatever he did at the Masters, I don't think there's, if he won, we would, of course, see the Live bots say, oh, look how good Live is. But the fact that he didn't win or finish in the top 10, I don't think anybody's gloating or anything like that. I think we all know that Live players can win majors. But the guys who can win are, the ones we expect. DeChambeau, Koepka. Those are the guys who have done it and who have proven that. John Rahm could surely go and do it. It's different. I won't say it's good or bad for Live, but I will say it's different winning on Live, which Niemann obviously does. And, of course, he's a tremendously skilled golfer. But he has not shown that he has the mettle to go in and compete in the majors yet. I mean, for how good the guy is in his ranking in the world ranking, to have 0 top 10s, that's glaring. That is glaring at this point on his resume, and that transcends Live PGA Tour. That is a glaring absence, and he has something to prove.
Rex, I started this segment talking about fashion. We just talked to Jeff Ogilvy, who said he knows young people, kids who come up to him and his fellow captains and say, I want to play for that shield one day. Over the last couple of decades, has the introduction of this shield by Ernie Els in 2018 ahead of 2019 been maybe one of the greatest things this international team has done in terms of fostering unity?
Whew, that was close. I thought you were going to ask me about fashion for a minute, and I would be the last person that would need to talk about that. I'll go back to Ernie Els' creation of that shield, and it was brilliant. I think that's the word that Jeff Ogilvy used. And the reason I would say that is prior to that, I remember having vivid conversations with some international players about the idea they were tired of playing in the event. They were tired of losing. They were tired of getting their faces kicked in every 2 years. It wasn't good for their morale. It wasn't good for their game. It certainly wasn't good for their brand. That has changed, and I would give full credit to what Ernie Els has created. Somehow he has brought that international team together. I was standing next to those team rooms last year, especially on Friday night. That party coming from the international team was a real party. They were enjoying themselves. They finally had something to stand behind. I don't know, and I like the idea that Jeff Ogilvy talked about. That looks like so much fun. I want to do that, meaning winning on Sunday night. I don't know how close they are, but certainly they seem to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah, great perspective from two guys with fresh haircuts, high and tight. Rex and Shane, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.